Hi, everyone. This is Heather Vickery, and you've tuned in to the Brave Files podcast. Happy Pride Month, brave ones. For those of us in the LGBTQ community, this month is about celebration and love and honoring all that makes us wonderfully unique. The fight for LGBTQ rights goes on all day, every day, and it's often difficult and sad and really a struggle. But in June, it's all about joy. So I want to know, how are you celebrating Pride this month? Give me a call and share your thoughts. I want to hear all the fun details. You can call 312-646-0205. And I'm also wondering, my dear brave ones, if you have joined us over in Brave on Purpose yet. It is our Facebook collective that's totally free and filled with very cool people just like you who want to leverage their fear into intentional bravery, because they know that when they do that, they choose bigger things for themselves. They have way bigger payoffs, and it's contagious. It's an incredible community, and I want to see you over there. So just go over to Facebook, search Brave on Purpose, answer 3 little questions, and come hang out with us. Okay, so this week I talked to an absolute inspiration. As a Black bisexual female veteran with an invisible disability, Lekeshia Moore calls herself the unicorn of minorities. After years of trying to make herself fit in conventional boxes, Lekeshia decided to create her own damn box. With courage, compassion, a lot of patience, and a little time, Lekeshia now lives a life full of pride, love, and gratitude. I cannot wait to introduce you to her, so let's get started.
Indefinable, necessary, and powerful.
This is Heather Vickery, and you're listening to The Brave Files, stories from people living courageously. When we choose bravely in big and small ways, it powerfully elevates our lives. I hope these stories connect with you and encourage you to embrace bravery in every possible way, day after day. Together, we can build a movement of courageous living that enriches both our lives and our communities. And if you enjoy the show, I ask you to please share it with others. Maybe think of someone who you want to choose bravely right alongside you. Thanks for tuning in. Now here's the show. Oh, you all are in for a treat today. I have really been looking forward to this conversation for a couple of months now. Today's guest is an incredible human named Lekeshia Angelique. She is living her life out loud and helping others have difficult conversations that create gigantic shifts. She calls herself the unicorn of minorities as a Black bisexual woman veteran who has an invisible disability. Y'all, she's a badass. She's leading with empathy and from her firsthand experience. Her journey is one that really ignites hope and joy, and I'm super excited to have you with us. Welcome to the Brave Files.
Oh my God, thanks so much for having me.
I think you are just a ball of energy and wonderfulness, and I love your approach of empathy. And we want to get into your story, but I dig on this right now, like as we first start, because to be at the intersection of all of those different types of minorities, I imagine that you are able to be more empathetic, right? You can see where it's not so cut and dry for everybody in all of these different spaces.
Absolutely. And that's why I think that empathy is actually my superpower, where it kind of holds a lot of people back. It's definitely my superpower.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. First of all, I love that, because whenever I teach a workshop, we start with superpower. What is your superpower? So I should make that part of my regular Brave Files question. What's your superpower? I dig it. And empathy is a pretty kick-ass superpower to have, and a lot of people don't, and we learn to grow it. So tell us a little bit about who you are, but your awareness of being in and active, a part of all of these minorities. Some of them, obviously, you didn't have to aware into. Some of them you just knew right away. And then how they all play off of each other. Yeah, I think that's where I want to start. There's a lot. There are a lot of things I want to talk to you about. I'm really excited.
Yes. So like I said, empathy is one of those things that is just in me, right? And having being a woman and being a veteran and having an invisible disability allows me to really get on the level with people when they're in need. And it took me a while to really understand that that was my superpower, because for so long it was something that is ingrained in us to shy away from, right? Because empathy is usually synonymous with weak or sensitive. Sensitive, I got a lot.
Yes. What a misnomer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got that a lot. So being sensitive, or being someone who now I say I'm in tune with my emotions, and I have a range of emotions, and I like to express a range of emotions versus, oh, you're just being sensitive. It really just
Yes.
gives me this different insight into people. And I've been a people watcher, I guess, from a wee little one. So it's allowed me to really understand people and how they think and how they move, just observing.
Yeah. Oh, I really love that. It's an underrated skill to observe well. I think everyone is so, and I don't mean this in as bad of a way as it sounds, but is so self-centered, so self-focused that observing is something that we often miss. What's that old saying? You have one mouth and two ears, so you can listen twice as much as you talk, but most people don't.
Right.
And yet, still, we struggle. People don't tend to care for themselves properly. Self-care, which is a buzzword, but a really important word, like, is by the wayside, because especially as women, we're told we need to sacrifice ourselves for the greater good and give everything up for everybody else. Even if we're not told that, the society really tells us that.
Yes.
And so this listening is important. You said you've been an observer from the time you were a little child. Can you give us some examples of that?
Yeah, so I'm the middle child. So, getting
Middle
lost.
child.
Yes. And I would always say, oh, I don't have middle child syndrome. Who even knows what that is, right? Until I really understood that, my brother and I are Irish twins. So we're a year apart. Exactly. Our birthdays are in July. And my sister's 3 years older. So my sister was self-sufficient. She could get herself out of places, walk, do all those great things. My brother was a tiny baby. So my mom would grab him. And then here I was left in the middle, just sitting in the car looking like, someone should probably get me. So the running joke is
The
that,
forgotten
yeah, I
child,
was the
the middle
forgotten child.
child.
They'd just leave me in the
Always.
car, and then they'd realize, oh, wait, we left Keisha, and come back for me. And I just sit there contently like, I know they'll come back. They'll realize soon.
Wow. What a patient
Yeah.
human.
Yeah. And just from there, my mom was like, you were always just different. Like, you've always just you played alone, you just watched people, and you were just into yourself, and didn't require much. So, I took that with me probably throughout my life, being that I didn't need much attention. So I thought.
I was going to say, that seems dangerous.
Yep. So I thought. And so it caused me to kind of go through some deep, dark times as well. So hit some depression and things, being like, do I really not need attention? I think I do. Yeah. 2 times divorced, trying to just fit in molds that didn't quite fit me. So that's why I say I'm free from labels. Even though I fit into all these boxes, I didn't fit in the boxes.
Now that's a big statement, and I would love to explore that a little bit more. I understand that. I was actually just having a conversation with a client literally in the last hour about not having to fit in the boxes, except that we somewhat desire it because it makes us feel like we fit. It sounds to me, would you say that you've sort of created your own box? You're like, look, if I don't fit into all of these boxes, I'm just going to make one or not.
Now, at this almost 40-year-old self, I've created this box of, this is just who I am. And I'm living, like you said, living my life out loud. Prior to that, of course, I was trying to please everyone but myself. And I'd gotten so lost in trying to be what everybody else thought I should be that I didn't even know who I was. And it took me a while to, really go on a self finding journey to find out, it's because of these boxes that I'm having so much difficulty. It's because of
Yes.
these boxes that I'm, marrying, divorcing, because I'm not happy. I'm marrying
Right.
people that I think, my parents will approve of and think society will approve of, and that fit, success and all of these things. And it's just making me miserable inside.
I've been down that journey.
Hmm.
Would you say for you, was it conscious that you were making those choices because you thought your parents would approve, because you thought society would approve, or were you just doing it because it was almost rote, like, well, this is what you do now?
I think it was a combination of both, because there was this saying like, in finding myself, I was really trying to trace back to like, where is this coming from? Why am I doing this? And I was a teen mom. So I got pregnant at 15 and had my
Oh,
son at
shit.
16. Yes. So that was the most devastating probably time of my life, not because I had gotten pregnant, but because of the disappointment I was to my parents. My dad was like, I'm so disappointed in you. And like that
Oh,
moment
it hurts my
has
heart.
stuck with me for the rest of my life. So I became a overachiever because I needed to prove to everybody that teen pregnancy wasn't going to define me. I was still going to be successful no matter what. So fitting in the boxes, to get out of the teen mom box is what was driven to. And it
Yeah.
drove me almost in a grave, honestly.
I could see that intense urgency to be approved of, to always do something for approval is such a deadly and dangerous position to be in. Tell me what happened after you had your child.
I graduated early. I graduated 17, and then I joined the army at 17. I turned
I didn't even know you
18.
could join the army at 17.
Who knew, my right? You can. Your parents have to sign for you. They signed. My father's military as well. So, yeah, they
Ah,
signed for me to be a minor in the military. And I was off 2 weeks after graduation from high school, joined the military. And again, miserable because it wasn't what I wanted to do. But
'cause
it
you
was
were a
this,
kid.
yeah, it was.
Who had a kid? Where was your son?
My son was with my parents, so they watched him while I went
Oh,
to basic
wow.
training and completed my training and got to my first duty station, which turned out to be right back at home. So it kind of worked out that,
Oh, well, that's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I came back home, and I hated it though. So
Yeah.
I got married so that
You
I could
you
get
got
out.
married because you hated your job in the
Yes,
military?
yeah, so I could get out,
Connect
and
that for me. Oh, so you
yeah,
could get
so I
out.
could get out, yeah, and be, stay at home and figure out what I was going to do. So I did that. I stayed home with my son, and actually I got pregnant with the twins like right after that. So yeah, so I
Wow.
was 19 when I had the
Still as a
twins,
baby.
still a
Yeah. Now
baby.
you're a baby with three
Yeah, with
babies.
3 babies. And then I decided to go back to college. And that's when I really was like, you know what? This is not the business right here. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I enjoy working. I enjoy being driven. I had goals and dreams and all these things, and I didn't want being a mom to stop me from doing all that. And so I went back to school and get a degree in criminal justice because I
What?
wanted to
That's
be the
amazing.
police or something. I don't know. Again, I'm still a child with children,
You were,
and
yeah.
thinking that I think it was like the FBI, because growing up, all I did was read books. Like Nancy Drew was like my
That's
jam.
cool. Hmm.
And I watched Silence of the Lambs probably more times than I'd like to admit. And I just had these dreams of like chasing down serial killers and doing all this stuff. So yeah, I went and got a degree, a master's degree, mind you, too, in criminal
Wow.
justice. So, and did absolutely nothing with it. I started working HR.
Yeah, but sometimes there's just a level of learning. But all of it shows such masterful resilience. And
Yes.
it sounds like at that point in your life, you shifted from I'm going to do something so that other people approve to I'm going to do something that I want to do.
Yes. Yes. I think that was the only way I made it through college, honestly, because if I would have went for like something, oh, you're going to need to get a good job in like HR, go for an HR degree, I definitely would have dropped out. It's HR is so boring. That's what I did after I started working for the government. I was HR for 20 years and
Whoa.
bore me with paperwork.
Sure. Yeah. HR is a thankless job.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think it just deserves to be spoken. I'm sure it has been, and you don't need this from me, but holy shit, going back to school as a kid with 3 babies and getting a master's degree is really super badass.
Thank you.
That shit's hard to do.
Yeah. And when I was doing those things, all of my accomplishments that I would get, it wouldn't be like, this is an accomplishment. This is something you have to do because you messed up when you were 16. So just keep doing those things, you know? So I wasn't even, people like, oh, you have 3 kids and you have a master's degree? And I'd be like, and I mean, isn't that what everybody does who messes up? You know, you try to.
Most of them just continue to fuck up the rest of their life. So that was probably bad. I probably shouldn't have said that. I mean, I think most people go, well, I guess I'd fucked it up. So they'll just sit here in this space and be broken. And that wasn't going to be you.
No, definitely not. Like that, proving and making up for, I think it was this making up for what I had done to my parents. And that's how I viewed getting pregnant. It wasn't something that I had done to myself. It was what I had done to them, to have to call their friends and be like, she's pregnant and she's a teenager, and, you know, to carry this child around, like be around with my little belly in high school, and them taking me to doctor's appointments. And because I wasn't even driving. I wasn't even driving, you know? So all of these things, it just felt like I was just a huge disappointment and embarrassment to my parents. And
it just hurts me because clearly having to live that experience was torture enough to go to school. I mean, 15, I have an almost 15-year-old. I have a 16-year-old. You were, what, a sophomore?
I was a junior because I graduated when I was 17. So
because you graduated early.
Yep, I was a junior.
But right, like whatever torture
it was
anybody else was going through, yours had to be so much worse.
Definitely torture. And I was the only one in my school who was pregnant at the time. The following year, it seemed like everybody was pregnant, but it seemed like my junior year, nobody was pregnant. So it was the whispers and, you know, all of those things that happen when you're in high school with the mean girls. And it was really bad. I couldn't wait to graduate, which is why I was out of there early. And 2 weeks after graduation, you know, went off to boot camp because high school was pretty much a miserable experience for me.
Mm-hmm. You poor thing.
Yeah. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day too. And postpartum depression wasn't a word that I had in my vocabulary back then. I don't think anybody really had back then. And especially with a 16-year-old, like, oh, you probably have postpartum depression. And I think that kind of started my mental health like journey of, even though I'm dealing with this postpartum depression of being a teen mom, I need to get my schoolwork done, make sure I graduate, make sure I lose this weight to get into the military, and then, you know, then leave my child to go into the military. Definitely depression was there, and I worked through it by just continuing to work, achieve, press it down, don't pay any attention to it, and maybe one day it'll go away.
Which of course it didn't, because it doesn't.
It grows into a big, huge monster.
Yeah. I mean, I have 4 daughters and 2 teenagers, and the depression and the difficulty of just being a teenager enough is already hard. It's just, I just can't imagine. So share with us, at what point in your life and in your journey did you go, I don't have to do this. This does not have to be like this.
Really took me till probably I was in my mid-30s. After my second divorce of the twins' father, married again, quickly divorced. This one was shorter. The first one lasted about 8 years. This one like 18 months. Like divorce. I was like,
I don't mean to laugh.
I know
at your divorce. I'm sorry.
I just couldn't do it. I was like, nope, I can't. I was even more depressed to the point where it was like, okay, this is it for real this time, you know. this is when I started to realize that I didn't want to be with a man anymore. I wanted to be with a woman. And so all of that emotion and the stigma that was going to come with divorcing and being with women, and but you were with a man, and just how confusing bisexuality
I've
is to
been
the
there.
whole world, right? And again, being that embarrassment to my parents, having to tell people, oh, she's with a woman now, and so all of those kind of emotions came back up as if I was like 16 again, and having to tell them that I was pregnant. Now it's just I'm bringing a woman
Coming
home.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my girlfriend.
I am very curious to know how that went over. I'm thinking of all of these, and I'll be really transparent. Stereotypes that I have heard from a military background, and
Yeah.
the folks, the LGBTQ folks I know in the Black community tell me that there's a huge stigma, homophobic stigma in the Black community. I'm super fucking white, so I don't know that firsthand, but I've heard that like all of these different ways. Like, what was that experience like?
Absolutely. There's definitely a stigma, and especially in the military. So no matter what anyone says about don't ask, don't tell being repelled, please don't ask or tell, because it does definitely affect your career. So
It's devastating.
it is. So, being that goes into that compartmentalizing. So there's parts of me that, I can hide and that I can't hide. That was a part in the military that I still was like not forthcoming with. People would just assume that there was a man somewhere hiding in my life because I had kids. So I didn't correct or say anything to the contrary until probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yep. And then as for my family, so some days my mom is just like, yeah, this is it. And then some days she's like, so is this phase over yet? Or is it going to be over? So, yeah.
Man, the phase
Yeah.
thing. That's so fun
And it
when they
comes in
hit you with the
phases
phase.
because,
Yeah.
first it was like, okay, that's her little friend. And then we got engaged and it was like, oh my God, she's keeping her. She's really doing this. And so now
Sorry.
the wedding is next month. So now it's just like, okay, I'm going to now have to tell people that Keisha has a wife. And I honestly don't, I'm waiting to see what that sounds like coming from her mouth. So we'll see.
Okay, your wedding is just now coming up. I don't know why I thought you were already married.
It's coming up June 25th.
Ah, congratulations.
Yes, we're
So
so
this is all
excited.
really fresh and raw for you. I don't know why I didn't realize that. I thought maybe you had a few more out years under your belt.
Yeah, we've so 10 years now I've been out, but just, in a getting married, getting engaged. We've been together and living together, and just decided.
So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
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 Well, congratulations.
Thank you. We're excited, and
It's
then we're headed
exciting.
right off to Granada. So I'm super excited about that for the
That
honeymoon.
sounds perfect. I want to go anywhere that's
Right.
not home right now after a year in lockdown. How did your kids take the news that you were in love with a woman?
My kids are absolutely amazing. So when it was like, me and your mom are dating, they were like, goodbye. We already know. Shut up. Like, what do you think you're doing here? Like, you think this is a secret? Like, they knew already. And the little ones, of course, they were tiny. They were smaller. So it's been normal for them. Like, so even like at school, they're like, I have two moms. And, the kids say something like, oh, that's weird. And they're like, why is that weird? They don't understand. But my son, I think my most nerve-wracking conversation was probably with my son, because he was a teenager and he's a boy, and it's like, how is he going to take this? Is he going to be embarrassed of me now? And no, they think it's the coolest thing ever. Like, and their friends too. They're just like, oh my God, it's so cool. You have two moms. It's
I love
awesome.
that.
Yeah. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
So have you been surprised by the times and the folks that you didn't get the expected pushback from?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised by my son. I don't know why I just assumed that he'd be like super upset, but he's such a good kid. I should have known better. My mom, I was definitely not shocked at
Yeah.
her at all. And I expected her to. My grandmother still doesn't know. Like I don't know what she's
What?
waiting for. Yeah, I don't know what she's waiting for. She's waiting to tell her. I don't know if she's waiting for like. Let's see if she really gets married. It's
Yeah,
like,
but 10 years, is your fiance not met your grandmother?
no, she hasn't. So my grandmother is sick, and I haven't been with my fiance for 10 years
Oh,
for
okay.
the whole 10 years. So I had a girlfriend previously, a 6 year relationship, and then that ended, and then now I've been with my current fiance. I was about to say girlfriend, and she'd kill me. My fiance. So two long term relationships with
Okay.
females,
Oh,
and
man.
yeah, so no, we haven't gone because of COVID, and we haven't gone to Fayetteville, which is where I'm from, North Carolina, but I live in Tennessee. And when my mom comes here, she doesn't bring my grandmother because she can't really travel. She doesn't like to be away from home. Like she refuses to leave like the confines of her house, even before COVID. She's just like, no, I'm not
Right.
leaving. I love it here. So yeah, so no, she hasn't really met her. And honestly, I've been thinking about this. Like this has been on my mind. Like, what will they say when we are all in the room together? Because I imagine it will be the next holiday season. So next year, holidays.
Yeah.
Will it be this is Keisha's friend still, or will she just ignore it completely and just act like she's
Do
not
you get
there?
a say in any of this? I mean, do you have a relationship with your grandmother?
I
Can
do,
you
I
tell
do.
her?
I definitely could. But at this point, like, I'm not sure if she would understand what I'm saying over the phone. It would definitely have
Because
to
of
be in
her
person.
illness?
Yes, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so it would definitely have to be in person. And I mean, and they're Southern old school, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't envy that situation. I recall my grandmother, my mom's mom, was the one that we were all the most worried about.
Hmm.
My family's a bunch of rednecks from the Midwest. I love you if you're listening. And it, I think my mom's biggest fear when I came out was that they would be harmful or hurtful to me
Hmm.
and then to her. And lo and behold, they really all surprised us a lot. Every one of them said, well, we're a little confused because I'd been married to a man for a decade and
Hmm.
had 4 kids. But you're ours and we love you. And I actually did my only ever solo podcast episode was this past Thanksgiving. And I told this story about coming out to my grandmother and about how I was, constantly afraid to then. I came out to her and she was fine, but we just didn't talk about it. It just wasn't a thing. But
Hmm.
right before she died, we had a phone conversation just days before she died. We had a phone conversation. And as we were hanging up, she stopped me and she said, Heather, I want you to know how proud I am of you. What you did had to be very hard. And I think you're really brave.
Yes.
So I tell you that story. I do not know your family and I do not know your grandmother. But what I learned from that was perhaps if I speak my truth, I give people the opportunity to love me as I actually am
Hmm.
instead of what they want me to be.
Yeah.
I hope that for you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll let you know. I'll definitely keep you posted.
Please let me know. I
I'll
really
keep
hope
you
that for you. Just trust
posted.
yourself and I mean, you have this magical laugh and this wonderful energy that you give to the world. And I just hope that give them the chance to see who you are and will love the hell out of you.
Yes. I don't think they'd love me any less. I think that the questions and like, how does that work? All of that, those type of questions would come afterwards. But yeah, I definitely look forward to next holiday to bring my wife to Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. I definitely can't wait for an update on that. Okay. So I love all of this. As you have gotten more comfortable with yourself and started to do things for your own sense of joy instead of appeasing other people or making sure people approve or like you, you did some cool things, right? You quit this 20-year boring ass HR job to start your own
Yay.
diversity and inclusion company, right?
Absolutely. Yes. I think that's been the bravest thing I've ever done in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah,
You've
wholly.
done a lot of
I've done
things.
a lot of things, yeah, and I definitely think that was the bravest, right? I compare it to like joining the army. People are like you have to, shoot weapons and march for many miles and do all of these extraordinary physical things, and yeah, nothing compared to quitting my job, moving in with my fiance because independence was key for me. Like
Yeah,
being
I
able
could
to
see
make
that.
it on my own was something that I really driven in me. So relying on someone else, quitting this job and starting a business was definitely not something that I would have done. Like my family is you go to work, you get a good government job, you retire from that job, you get your pension
Yeah.
and you work until you can't work anymore. Like my dad's still working. Like he doesn't have to, but he just is like you just have to work. You just get up and you go to work. Like he doesn't even know why he's going anymore. He just goes.
So that's what did they say to that? When you're like, by the way, I'm leaving this very secure job where I have all these benefits and starting my own
Yeah,
business.
my mom flipped out. Like not only because I was quitting my job, but moving in with a woman, like she's like, you're independent. Why would you do that? Why would you give up your house? I had a big house and, my cars and me and the kids were living our best life, and she's like, why would you give all that up to move in with someone? And I was like, it's not just some random stranger. It's my girlfriend, soon to be fiance, I hope, and wife. And she's just like, I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Wow. Your business, your company is called Genuine Allyship. Is that the name of it?
So no, it's
It's
Lekeshia
not.
Angelique Consulting and
Okay.
Genuine Allyship is what I teach. Yes.
Okay, that's the class you teach. And I love that. So we're looking through my notes here before we chatted, and I actually really love that name. My partner is also in the DNI
Yes.
area. We've talked about that. And I think I introduced the two of you
Yes.
because I
We had a
think you're
great
cool
chat.
and you
Yes.
should know each other. But what I love about this space, the DNI space, is that there are so many different ways to do it and they all hold value. Like it's not like once you've done it in one way with one person, you're done.
Right.
Because these perspectives and your perspective of approaching it from a space of empathy. I'd love to hear a little bit about that, just why you created that and how it helps people.
Yeah, so I just saw this huge need in the wake of, everything that happened the summer of last year with the George Floyd murders and all of these consultants and diversity experts and new jobs with titles of like belonging manager and all of these great things started to pop up. And I was like, are they really doing the work though? Do they really have the base to really do the work? You have all these pretty spreadsheets that come out and there's a gap between theory and actual practice. And what it is bringing that empathy back into the education so that we really create spaces and places of belonging. And that is the key to genuine allyship.
I love that. I actually think it's this the key to life.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
It's the key to as soon as we can recognize that our experience isn't the only experience and hold space for recognizing other people's experience. Even we don't have to I mean, that's like coming out. It's the same thing, right? Like, I don't need you to understand. I just need you to accept it and work with it.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of what I've learned is I started the business and it's growing massively is that people want to do the right thing. There's bad people out there, right? We know that there's bad people in the world who are all of the things that we tell them not to be, but most people really want to do something and they just don't know what that is or how to do it. Or, my allyship journey, which by the way, everybody should be on an allyship journey because even
Yes.
if I am this unicorn of minorities, I still have to work at being an ally for the people who are not the way that I am. The
Absolutely.
transgender community, all of these things that I don't have a lived experience in, I'm learning to be allies for. And I have to understand that there's an education gap. I need to understand you before I can help you. So
Yeah.
understanding that, and yeah, just knowing that everybody should be trying to be the best ally they can be to whoever they can help. We all have privilege. We all have it.
We I appreciate you saying that. I really do think it's true. And all of these things can exist at once. We all have privilege, and we have privilege we can use, and we can be othered, and we can struggle, and things can be hard. All of these things coexist.
Hmm.
But it's too important to be open-minded and willing and empathetic, and to hold space for everybody's journey, even if it feels really foreign to
Hmm.
you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like for you, Lekeshia, this seems to be a running theme, right? Like from being a 15-year-old who's pregnant, like this idea of almost of needing this, of needing what you're giving to the world right now.
Yes,
That's
yes.
probably what the 15-year-old you needed, was somebody to be empathetic and hold space for you, and you had to do it yourself.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, as my coaching clients and the people that are in my space, that I had to become the coach, the
Yeah.
mentor that I needed. And because we are all on these different journeys, it looks different for everybody. So it's
Yeah.
hard to really say, this will work for this one person. So becoming what I wanted and what I needed back then has been so instrumental to, I think, my success.
Absolutely. And we teach what we most need to learn. I think all of those things are true. What would you say if you look at you're still so young, you're younger than
Mm,
me by quite a few years, but you've done a lot of living.
I
There have been a
have.
lot of, I always say I lived 3 full and complete lives before I got here. And I feel like you're a little in that boat. But what would you say has been the biggest surprise joy?
Oh, the biggest joy I think was really finding. At first, honestly, I would say it was like, oh, it's my kids and watching them grow into these beautiful adults that they are. But now I know the value in my biggest joy being finding myself
Yeah.
and finding what I believe to be is my absolute soulmate. Like, we didn't talk about how we met and everything, but I saw her a year before we spoke words to each other and knew we would be married without
I
saying a word
love
from the back.
it.
Didn't even see her from the front. From the back, I just had this feeling and this image of us getting married at the first time I saw her. So, and here we are about to get married.
I love that story. It sounds to me, are you an intuitive person? Do you,
Typically not, but
no.
which is why it makes it that much more like amazing to me. Like, if I had not gone home and told my brother the story of the feeling that I got when I saw her and ranted to him about her every single day until she spoke a word to me, she wouldn't have believed me at all. But he was like, oh, when the first time he saw her, he's like, oh, this is the girl that you've been talking about forever that I'm sick of hearing about. And I was like, yeah, sorry, yeah, I told you. I was like, I've been dating you for a whole year in my head.
Ah,
We've done all
I
sorts
love
of
it.
things.
That's either the sweetest thing she's ever heard or the
The
creepiest. I'm
creepiest,
going
right?
since you're engaged, I'm going to go with sweetest,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still.
It could have been a really creepy, right? Yeah.
I love that story. I'm so glad that you told us that. And
Yeah.
I love that you're like the greatest joy is finding yourself, is
Hmm.
getting to be you. And I will say, I feel that. I really feel that.
Yeah.
Like getting to be this version of me, this real, authentic, honest,
Hmm.
true version of me without, I don't know if it's so much without fear, but it's without fear of consequence. Like, I don't fucking care
Yeah.
anymore what anybody else thinks. That is beautiful and freeing and wonderful.
I think what I've learned is that we have more chances, right? You have multiple chances to get it right. If this doesn't work, I can do something else. I know that now. Like, before it was like, I have to succeed at this or else. But now it's like, if this doesn't work, I'll try something else. healing myself while attempting to heal the world is just something I want to do. How that manifests itself may be different from what I'm doing right now. We may talk a year
Yeah.
from now and it'd be something else, but it's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. I'm going to be all right. So I think that it took me a very long time to get to the point of like, you're going to be all right. You don't have to be killing yourself to be
Yeah.
successful.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I certainly love healing myself as I help heal the world.
Hmm.
I mean, hello. That's amazing.
Thank
I love
you.
that. All right. Well, so that to me is something absolutely worth celebrating. So it's fun for me. I love this question so much. How do you celebrate anything? Big successes, little ones, happy moments. How do you celebrate?
So, because I'm super obnoxious, me and my fiance, like sharing with her, and she's like my biggest cheerleader. So, no matter if it's like someone just signed a contract or if it's I lost a pound, she's always like, go, way to go, high five. Like she's my biggest supporter. So, definitely if I need a pick me up, I definitely am able to just tell her one little thing that went right today, and she's gonna boost me up like I just won $1 million.
Get it?
She is my hype man for sure.
I love that. I love it. And I love that your relationship is sort of rooted in that space of celebration.
Hmm.
It's so special and so important. I think you are just joyful. Like do you feel joyful? I feel so much joyful energy from you.
I do. Honestly, this is the best time of my life. Like you said, I feel like I've lived 4 lives now, and this one has absolutely been the best that I'm in this
Yeah.
space now, and I haven't been in it long, and so I'm really, really, really looking forward to what comes next in the future. Which before it was just like, what's next is getting up, going to work tomorrow. It was
Yeah.
the next day. There was Groundhog's Day over here, so
Yes, it was all over the world.
yes.
That's so cool. If folks want to get to know you, learn more about you, connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yes, I hang out on Instagram at Lekeshia_Angelique and spend a lot of my time on Facebook and my group called the DE&I Lounge right there on Facebook. So yeah, that's
Nice.
where I hang out.
I love that. And before we close out the conversation, will you tell us what your favorite charitable organization is to support?
Absolutely. My favorite organization is Embrace Race, and they are a organization that is helping to raise a braver generation. So I absolutely love, love, love. Every
Yay.
year I have a campaign for them because, I mean, hello, the children are our future, and they're helping to raise that generation free of all these biases that we are, has been ingrained in us from birth for us
I
to
love
hold it.
that. Tell me a little bit more about the organization. Where are they located? What do they do?
So they do education, webinars, all of these things on racism and race and LGBTQ, all things teaching our younger generations how to get this right. They have books that are more diverse. They have education for parents who have kids who might come out, all
Wow.
kinds of things in teaching kids to be inclusive.
I love that. I've
Yes,
never heard of them. I'm so
love
glad
them.
that you shared that with us today.
Yes,
They'll be our charity of the week. So we're going to
nice.
give them lots of love. And we hope that the listeners will do the same thing. Y'all give them lots of love, likes and shares and donations if you want, or volunteer your time if you've got it, or recommend them to someone who might benefit from what they're out doing. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
No problem.
Lekeshia, will you give your 3 words one last time?
Yes, I'm indefinable, necessary, and powerful.
I love those words and I love them for you, and they make me feel giddy. And indescribable is, yes, my indescribable unicorn friend. I love it. And I love you. Thank you so much for spending some time here with me and sharing your story and your brave journey with the listeners.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks. Do you feel all those feelings? I'm feeling that it's all just so good. It feels so positive and high vibe and high energy. And I'm so glad I got to introduce you to Lekeshia today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Give me a call at 312-646-0205. Let me know what you think. You can also find me on all of the social medias. We're at Vickery and Co. in all the places. And if you like this episode, do me a favor, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, because as silly as those things sound, they do make a difference, and we are the little podcast that could. We need your help. So glad to be here with you today. I will talk to you again next week. This is Heather Vickery reminding you today and every day to go out and choose bravely. Hey friends, I want to share something really exciting with you. We already know you enjoy listening to podcasts because you're listening to this one, but I'm also betting you enjoy audiobooks. And hey, listen, if you don't already enjoy audiobooks, then it's time to check them out. That's why I'm really excited to share Libro.fm with you. They are an incredible new platform for listening to audiobooks. And by choosing Libro.fm over other audiobook services, you are supporting a local bookstore of your choice and investing in your local community. Libro.fm offers over 150,000 audiobooks via their primary platform, which, by the way, they built with love and from scratch because they're a small business also. They even offer bookseller recommendations for great audiobook options. You can sign up right now via www.vickeryandco.com/LibroFM. That's vickeryandco.com/LIBROFM. And when you do, you'll get one free audiobook of your choice, and the proceeds will go to your favorite local bookstore. Now, check what I just said there. You're going to get a free book, and the proceeds are still going to go to your local bookstore because Libro.fm makes sure that their booksellers get paid even when they give a promo to customers. I've listened to over 20 audiobooks this year alone. I especially love listening to memoirs read by the author, and it feels great knowing that all of my purchases support my local bookstore, The Book Table, in Oak Park, Illinois. Libro.fm. The same audiobooks, the same price, but a completely different story. Check them out right now at vickeryandco.com/LibroFM. Have you ever thought about starting a podcast? Maybe you've had this thought and then quickly shut it down because who has the time? Or you don't know how, or gosh, it just all seems too hard. If you have something to share with the world, we want to encourage you to get your message out. The world needs to hear it. Did you know that 50% of all homes are podcast fans? If you've ever wondered about having your own podcast or how it can increase your business or get your message across, then please join me and the other experts from the Podcast Power Academy for our monthly free Q&A session. It's called So You Want to Start a Podcast? This casual live conversation will help you understand how podcasting can be a great decision, why now is the best time to get started, and how to get into action with it. Visit podcastpoweracademy.com to learn more. You've been listening to The Brave Files, stories of people living courageously. To learn more about the show, find our show notes and full episode transcripts, or to get some great bonus content, visit thebravefilespodcast.com. And we would love to know what you think of the show. You can give us a call at 312-646-0205. Let us know your thoughts on the episode, the show in general, or maybe share with us how you're out choosing bravely. This episode is brought to you by Vickery & Co. Success Coaching. Coaching that helps you maintain a life well lived and a business well run. Learn more at vickeryandco.com. Our music was created and produced in a custom collaboration with Matt Lewis from ML Creative Consulting, a boutique firm dedicated to helping clients identify their unique sound and amplify their brand with custom delivered soundtracks. We couldn't do any of this without our extraordinary audio engineer, Andrew Olson. Learn more about him and check out his work at findandrewolson.com. And special thanks to everyone on Team Brave, from our producers, associate producers, copy editors, writers, and support team. Special thanks to Molly, Mary, Kim, Sabra, and Sabrina. I'm your host and executive producer, Heather Vickery. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.